Hey, what's up studs? Ryan here at MandRproductions, and in today's video we're going to go through what I believe are the top 20 most wanted LEGO Star Wars UCS sets by LEGO Star Wars fans, and obviously this is not going to be in a perfect order for everybody. I tried to put it in what would maybe be a general order most people could agree on, but ultimately which set you want most may be different than the sets other people want the most. But let's get started with the 20th most wanted UCS set in my opinion, and that's a Luke's Landspeeder. Luke's Landspeeder has been made plenty of times in Playscale. We've seen it so much that it gets memed to death now. However, it wouldn't be unwarranted for LEGO to make a UCS model of it. It is seemingly a very popular vehicle in the Star Wars universe, and they make it so much in Playscale. Why would they not bring it to a UCS scale? Maybe a little bit smaller than what we see here in some of the mock-ups, but they can certainly make a very compelling model at the $200 price, or maybe even cheaper on a Luke's Landspeeder. At number 19, I've chosen the Ewing. I think the Ewing is a beautiful ship from Rogue One, and we also see it somewhat in Star Wars Rebels, and I'm sure we'll see it in future Star Wars media with the Cassian Andor show coming out. The Ewing wouldn't be a terrible choice for a UCS set. It's only been made once in Playscale because it is a newer vehicle for Star Wars, but I think it could make a really good set to go along with the already existing original trilogy styled LEGO Star Wars Rebel fleet. This would be another one that would cost $200, maybe $300. I could see them going even bigger on a set like this because it does kind of require that kind of space to build out the wings on the front and everything. I don't know if they would be able to get the feature in where the wings can kind of fold out and flip to the back, but I would hope that they would be able to do that if this were to become a UCS set. At number 18, and possibly this should be higher up on the list, but this is where it has landed for me, is the Jedi Temple. And this is something that I think we could see in micro scale, much like we saw with the Hogwarts Castle. You could have some interior spaces where you have maybe the library, you have the Jedi Council room, you can have things like that. But ultimately, a set like this to me would be for its exterior display. And I would love to see the Jedi Temple. I think it would be a really good UCS set. And much like with the Hogwarts Castle, they could include some really neat exclusive Jedi minifigures in the set. At number 17, my bomber bros out there, the UCS TIE Bomber would be one that I would love to see, especially after seeing this mock that someone made. I think this mock changed my mind on the UCS TIE Bomber. It would go so well within the UCS TIE collection, and I think over the next decade, LEGO should really fill that out, because the UCS TIE Fighter from 2015 is really, really good, and all the other UCS TIE models aren't quite up to that style, so I'd love to see them come through and do a TIE Bomber, TIE Interceptor, and Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, which we're gonna get to, but I genuinely think the TIE Bomber should be on this list. At number 16, the TIE Interceptor. The previous TIE Interceptor that we received was back in the early 2000s, and it's in the old blue color scheme, and like I had just mentioned, it does not compare to the modern UCS style at all. It's really bad in my opinion. It's one of the worst UCS sets, so that is one that I would love to see brought to life in UCS. This is one that I think both myself and a lot of you guys would love to see updated and brought back into UCS form. At number 15, we have, I believe it's a droid control ship, or the Looser Hulk. Hopefully I pronounced it correctly there, but from Star Wars Episode 1 or from the Clone Wars, I would rather see it with the Separatist markings, with the blue markings. I think that those would give this set life in its UCS form, although I honestly wouldn't care either way. We do see one in the 2020 Advent Calendar, so hopes are high for this one, to be honest. So maybe I'm getting my hopes up for something like this, but this is another one that I think would work well in a pseudo micro scale. Obviously, you're not going to have minifigs working within what this is, I believe, but I think it could make for a very compelling UCS model, and we rarely ever get stuff from the droid side of things for UCS sets, so this is one of the few things, you know, there's another one coming up later on the list, but this is one of the few, like, droid CIS Separatist things that I could see making a case for being a UCS set, and I've seen some demand for this when I did ask the question on my channel, what UCS sets you guys wanted to see when I was working on this video. I saw quite a few comments for this, and it actually compelled me to put it in this list. At number 14, a UCS set that we got back in 2006 was Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. I think this one is due for an upgrade, and I think a lot of other people would agree with that. The previous version didn't include a minifigure or anything, so you would see something like that. Of course, the price would be $200. It would be a UCS set that I'm sure would sell very well, given that we've seen Darth Vader's TIE Fighter rather recently in Star Wars Rebels. At number 13, I've chosen the Ghost from Star Wars Rebels. This is definitely one that maybe I have some recency bias for, because I literally just watched Star Wars Rebels, but oh my lord, would I love a UCS Ghost, and I've I've seen some demand for it, although maybe not as demanding as some other sets we're getting to, but I still think this could make a very good UCS set, especially if you included the entire Ghost crew, which some of those minifigures have become rather expensive. And part of me also feels like they have to include the Phantom as part of the Ghost set, because otherwise you can have kind of this gaping hole in the back. At number 12, one that has gotten a lot of hype around it lately, the Nebulon Be Frigate. Obviously, because LEGO did the LEGO Ideas vote, this one had the Nebulon gang behind it. That being said, the Gunship gang was far stronger and squashed the Nebulon gang's attempts to take down the Gunship gang. I wouldn't mind seeing the Nebulon Be Frigate as a UCS set, though. In fact, one of my UCS set ideas, when I did a video on UCS set ideas a few years back, was a Nebulon Be Frigate. It was even in the thumbnail. So I think this set could make a good UCS set. Ultimately, though, it would be a little bit of a weird shape and thing for LEGO to try to get together. I think that this mock does show that it's possible, although it would be very interesting to see how LEGO would actually execute it given some of their design constraints. Number 11, the Super Star Destroyer has become a very expensive LEGO Star Wars UCS set on the secondary market, and for LEGO to bring it back may be a smart thing within the next 5 to 10 years. I've seen a lot of demand for a remake of this, which I kind of find weird because it doesn't feel like it's been that long since this set was just coming out, but it has been almost a decade since the set came out, so maybe it is about time for a remake. This is one of the sets that's a little bit higher up on the list than I would personally have it, but this is kind of a list of the people as best as I can put it together like that, and so this one has ended up at number 11, and maybe they would change up the figures, give you some different people than they did last time. That would be kind of interesting. Ultimately, this set would be rather expensive, though, probably landing at about $500 in today's world. At number 10, a UCS set that I want so bad, UCS Kylo Ren Shuttle. There are some really good mocks of a UCS Kylo Ren Shuttle, and I would love to just be able to buy one in a box at the LEGO store. I think it's a really neat ship from the Star Wars universe, kind of unique, which is kind of rare sometimes in Star Wars nowadays. I think the figure selection wouldn't really matter to me personally. This one would be much more about the actual ship, and Kylo Ren Shuttle, just that black and red design just looks so damn good to me, so that's one that I would be really hyped for if they were to make. At number 9, a Death Star remake. No, not that Death Star, this Death Star. We want a paneled Death Star. A lot of people want a paneled Death Star. We've gotten 2 playset Death Stars over the last decade and a half. It's time to see a paneled up Death Star back on shelves, and I think a lot of people are looking for this set to come out after the UCS Imperial Star Destroyer retires potentially. I think it could potentially be a very expensive set, maybe around $500 or $600, and that kind of gets me excited though because it means it would be very well executed. At number 8 for most wanted UCS sets, the ARC 170 Starfighter. The Clone Wars is bigger than some people may want to give it credit for, but the ARC 170 Starfighter could be a really cool UCS set. They've done the X-Wing, so the ARC 170 Starfighter, in my opinion, wouldn't be too far detached from that design-wise. Like, it seems feasible. As far as, like, keeping the wings straight, it might be a little bit difficult, though. But this would make for a really neat $200 to $250 Starfighter UCS set. At number 7, a set that I don't necessarily want remade myself, but I've seen a lot of demand for again, and one that I wouldn't mind buying, of course, because the original is my favorite LEGO Star Wars set ever. It's the Pyro Shuttle. This one is even younger than the Super Star Destroyer, which I did mention I feel like it's too soon for a remake for, and the same applies here. But this one could sell very well if they were to remake it. It is a really clean design. I would wager to say it's probably a fan favorite ship from Star Wars, and those minifigs in the set are in desperate need of an upgrade if they were to remake this set. I could also see this potentially being part of a LEGO Star Wars Legacy line, which is something that might be happening yearly if you look at the Death Star Duel that's coming out in summer of 2020, so we're gonna have to wait and see on that one, but this one could see a remake that's more like a re-release than other UCS sets. And I say that because where is there room for improvement, right? Like, this model is so refined, so perfect as is, that I don't see where, after 10 years, they could really upgrade it in any major way. So it would be something that looks very similar, same size, like maybe 100 more pieces, and ultimately is for people that missed the first one, not for people that already have the first one. At number 6, a Jabbas Sail barge. This is one that I'm almost surprised we haven't seen yet, because Jabbas Sail barge plays a pretty big role in Star Wars Return of the Jedi, and it is a pretty neat ship. And this one I think would be very neat if it had an interior interior. I think that it would be a real shame if they were to make this and it was just kind of a display piece. I think that this one needs to have some of that interior space because Jabbas Sail barge does have a very interesting and unique interior with different rooms and such that they could build into it. Of course, the top deck of the sail barge would be a really neat space as well, and you can include different figures or characters that you see from the scene in Return of the Jedi. It wouldn't be terrible if it also included a desert skiff and maybe a Sarlacc pit, like also in UCS style. It would be really cool to kind of be able to just have the complete scene in one set for maybe $350 or $400. At number 5, yes, this is the other Separatist style UCS set that I was mentioning earlier. The MTT would be a very welcome addition to my shelves in UCS form, and I'm sure a lot of other people are after this one in a UCS form. This is a highly requested set from fans, and I think seeing it in UCS would be amazing. Now, there's two ways to go with it. It's in this scale, which is a smaller and just display only scale, and the second way to go with it is a much larger scale where you can actually fit figures inside of the MTT, and you get like 40 battle droids that can fit on the MTT's racks as troops being carried into battle. I could see it going either way, and I would wager it's more likely that we see it larger rather than smaller, so fingers crossed to see this one in the future. To me, it's the 5th most wanted UCS set. The 4th most wanted UCS set is probably the Clone Turbo Tank. I've seen a lot of people asking for this one, and I've seen some really good mock-ups of it. Obviously, LEGO's only ever done it in play scale, so seeing something even bigger would be incredible. The main problem to me would be how would they do the wheels, because historically they just use like a singular molded piece for the wheels, but if they made the Clone Turbo Tank, let's say just twice the size, they don't just have wheels that are twice the size that they already use. They would have to kind of build them out of bricks or maybe make new molds. It would be interesting to see how they would handle something like that. The 3rd most wanted UCS set, and very quickly has become very popular, is the Razor Crest. I think the Razor Crest is inevitably going to be made in UCS form. It is only a matter of time. So many fans love the Mandalorian, and his ship has quickly become iconic. It would include Mando and Baby Yoda figures, and that may be it, because it's not a playset. It would be a UCS set, obviously, for display. I worry that this vehicle may be too bulky at a UCS scale to fit on a stand, so this one may just be kind of a standalone, or maybe even better, unlike the play scale version, they could give it landing gear, and maybe that would actually work out fine. So UCS Razor Crest, to me, is all but a lock. Another one that has been very highly fan requested over the last decade, and even more so in the previous couple years, a UCS Venator, number 2 here, and this one would be incredible. And to me, a UCS Venator, I don't want to see it in a $700 box like the UCS Star Destroyer. I want to see it at a smaller scale, $300-$400. It doesn't have to be this gigantuan model. It can be somewhere between the play scale version and where we see the UCS Star Destroyer, and I think that's the Goldilocks zone for something like a UCS Venator. Just my opinion there. As far as figures are concerned, they don't really matter to me for a set like this. You saw them with the Star Destroyer. They were just kind of throwaway command guy figures. Nobody cared about them. They honestly probably would have been better off not including figures, although I hate saying that, knowing that if they didn't include figures in a Venator, that I may complain about it. LEGO can't win. And if you didn't see this one coming from a mile away, you probably need glasses. The UCS AT-AT is the most wanted UCS set of all time, and this one is a very interesting one because you would think they would have already done it by now. The AT-AT is such an iconic vehicle from Star Wars, especially from the Battle of Hoth, although we see it in other places. LEGO has made 5 different play scale versions of the AT-AT, but it's yet to reach its UCS form, and I've heard the reasoning for that is because they cannot figure out the internal structure or how to make it sturdy enough on its legs and everything for it to be a UCS set and conform to what LEGO needs a product to be as far as stability and strength and all that goes. They wanted to give it an interior apparently, however they cannot figure out how to do all that while still retaining structural integrity. There's a lot that goes into something like this, and I'm sure one day they'll figure it out, and then we'll be able to get our giant UCS AT-AT because it is definitely the most wanted UCS set out there right now. Let me know in the comments section below what your most wanted UCS set is. I mean, I think the AT-AT is definitely mine as well as most fans, but I'm sure there's definitely some different opinions out there, so leave a comment. If you enjoyed the video, like is always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.